Welcome to the Gunpla Network. I'm the Spicer, and today's episode of the Gunpla Insider is brought to you by Side 7 Exports. If you're looking for any P-Bandai or Gundam-based exclusive content, be sure to check them out, and be sure to use that promo code Gunpla Network at checkout for 10% off your next Side 7 Exports order. Today on the Gunpla Insider, I am joined, and it is an honor to be joined, by Ariel Obtinalla. How you doing, Ariel?
Hey, Cody, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Of course. Now, for those of you who may initially be unfamiliar with Ariel, why don't you give them a little bit of background and kind of where they might know you from?
Oh, wow. Where would people know me from? Well, I am located in Toronto, so I am part of the Canadian Gundam scene. I'm out in Ontario as our main province. You've probably seen me in a whole bunch of places where Gunpla is under the name AO Mecha. I also an administrator for Side 6, which is a mecha modeling club in Facebook. So you could check us out and see what we're all about. I've attended a few GBWC local events starting in 2017, which was held in Montreal, Quebec. I think that was my first or second exposure to Gunpla Network's very own Danik. Last year, I did venture out for the GBWC 2019 event out in Vancouver, where I met some of the folks from our sister communities out there. So I've been traveling all over the place. I just haven't been to the central part of Canada yet, but very active in most of the Canadian and some international Gunpla communities.
And speaking of Side 6, it's one of the bigger groups, and especially definitely one of the more notable names. You know, it's Side 6, Side 7, kind of worked out the sponsorship here. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about the group itself and being an administrator in that group?
Oh, great. Yeah, no, thank you for, shouting out for Side 6. And Side 6 is a mecha modeling group that I started with some of my friends from other groups in the local scene. Originally, we started off with 5 people creating the group, and it boiled down to myself and another administrator launching the Side 6 group. The core value of Side 6 is basically focused on mecha and modeling. So myself and Andrew Hilton-Wig are the original founding members of the administrative team, and has grown since then to include also Nicholas Tejada Sanchez, who is the current GBWC champ for Canada. Andrew also placed in the 2019 Canada Eastern Division of GBWC, and I'm here. So I need to get myself in a chair at that one. But we are very passionate about mecha modeling, painting. A lot of our work definitely is in the Gunpla and Gundam genre, just because it just boomed the last couple of years, and it just keeps climbing and climbing. We're getting new kits every other month of news and releases. So the community from our perspective has grown ever since we started it, and we are very new community as well. We are still under a year, and we have climbed, I think, close to the 350 members now, slowly and steady. And our focus for our group obviously is the work. Most of our members will probably say that our group has no backlogs or no hauls posts, and that all of the posts that we do are the work, be it whip, snap build, final products, that kind of stuff. And we want to promote that. Everybody, as you know, has different levels of skill sets and passion for the hobby. The hobby is still the hobby, and that's what we want to promote. The genre, though, that I guess that accumulated our group is the love for mecha. So yeah, that's just a brief history of our group. Hope you guys check us out and start posting and sharing some of your work with us.
Absolutely, and that is really one of the interesting things, and I feel like I see that on so many other groups of try to limit your unboxings or your hauls and just things that's like, we get it, you bought a thing, we're here to look at the kits themselves, and yeah, I get it. You get excited when you buy things. I know I've done it before, probably. And it is cool to get the insight to be like, okay, yeah, this is something we're actively trying to do, and we have a focus, And it's not just like admins running around like, hey, do this. Hey, no. What about this?
Yep.
What are we doing? We don't know.
And I think we want to show for that is like the administrators are also like builders, like anyone in our community. So we do have background knowledge in regards to, assembling kits, putting it together, being on shows, being active as well when it comes to, projects and events. By events, I mean, I think Andrew has entered so many contests already, and you have Nico just posting every day. I think anyone who's ever into Gundam probably has crossed his post in one form or the other, regardless of where you are in the world. That guy posts a lot. So,
it helps to have
again,
him
myself,
on the admin team.
absolutely, and myself, it just with the day-to-day stuff, we just gotta make sure that everybody's engaged, posting stuff, and a lot of it is about the community. I want to see more of the work from the people, and I want people when they post the work to inspire others. And that's one of our models actually for Side 6. We are built to inspire. And built to inspire means a lot of things for us. Like, do we build to inspire stuff? Yes. But what do we build, right? We build inspiration. Huh? So kind of. No, but there's a lot of yeah, a lot of it is really motivation. That is what we want to promote for our community. Motivation to finish, to open your boxes, to show your work. Don't be shy. We're here. There's so many people like-minded like you that are into the hobby, just as much passion and like for the hobby that you're into. And again, we appreciate every members that have joined us since and continuing to join. And if you are thinking of joining, please feel free to check us out. Again, post and share your work. That is what we want.
And that is really something that not only is that a clever motto, but it really is important for a group to have some kind of motto or concept or mission statement like that, so that you at least have people in the admin team, not only in the community, but trying to like curate this group to an extent to be like, hey, show us your work, show what inspired you, this inspired us, and just kind of like keep that hype train rolling, because we all get burnt out sometimes. It happens. And it's always refreshing to go in and be like, oh, that's a cool concept. Maybe I could do something like that.
Oh, absolutely. And the level of people that I've seen posting since day one, it just keeps getting better and better. And I'm not talking about like the work itself. It's also like the engagement that they have between each others. My concern was when we started the group was like, we're going to have to show our work first and post it, but we don't want it to be just our work posting and posting and posting. And I realized maybe beginning of this year, January, that like I didn't post for like a weekend because I was away or I was sick or something. And I came back Monday and there are all these posts that are so engaging. Like, hey, this is what I did over the weekend. Or like, hey, this is a really cool kit that I built together. What do you guys think? And it's just like, or what's your recommendation for, what paint to use? And it was like, wow. That's when I felt like this is a community that will be growing and continuing to grow, because look at this. People are helping each other. People helping people is amazing. That to me was inspiring. So, and it's not, like I said, it's not just the build per se. It's like the community itself is inspiring. So we built the community to inspire. You know what I mean?
Feeds back on itself.
Exactly.
Now, speaking about the community, you guys not too long ago had run the Great Canadian Build-Off. And being in the midst of COVID, that might have been a little difficult, as you had to shove everything online. Kind of walk us through what that process was like, from kind of like start to finish, conception to judging, and give people kind of like a little behind the scenes, if you will.
Oh, behind the scene. That's a tall order, Cody. So I guess what happened was, I believe it started even earlier than that, before COVID, towards end of December, beginning of January. Side 6, along with Gunpla Montreal and our sister community at Gunpla Ottawa, were already doing a joint coordination for Anime North, which is a convention that is to be held in May, the latter half of May in Toronto. GMTL have been running that show for the last year or two now. And we believe that with Side 6 emerging, we just want to show them like, hey, you have support in Toronto, because the event is in Toronto. And so I think a couple of us, like 8 of us, have volunteered to help out. So with all these coordinations, obviously there's the administrative team, myself and Andrew and Nico, as well as all the administrative teams from Gunpla Montreal and Gunpla Ottawa, were collaborating already. Then I believe towards latter half of February and March, when we started getting the cases of COVID-19, which is an unfortunate issue, we've already anticipated that with the cancellation of all these events everywhere, that like local events, especially Anime North, will be most likely canceled. So in the midst of that, we then started, okay, well, some suggestions that were floating around. It's like, well, why don't we just have a online contest, and that way people who are already working towards for said convention have an output to showcase their work. So what started off as that idea then became, it's like, well, why don't we just open it to the whole nation? Like, what's stopping us if we're going to do it online, right? So we contacted other communities. At the time, it was, again, very kind of rushed and sudden. So the communities that ended up being in the core community was DU Gunpla out in the prairies and Vanpla from the West Coast. And all of this too, I've been talking with Danik about like, hey, maybe, if GN could help us some coverage on this, that would be great. So I did ask for some of his advice and guidance, because like he's probably seen a whole bunch of, online, contests and whatnot. So we just started talking with him and getting some feedback. And that created the core group. It was a very fast built event, not gonna lie. We literally was like every day hacking away at things and making sure that like, hey, will this fly? Will this category work? Will this theme work? So there was a lot of like back and forth, and I think we organized. It took us maybe 2 to 3 weeks, even from conception, just to get it off the ground. So obviously, there's a lot of ideas and points of perspectives from each of the administrative team, how the event is going to run. And I think at one point we just said, hey, I think we could run with this. And we just did. But before we even launched that, one thing I did do is reached out to all the other communities across Canada. So being that it's a coast-to-coast event, that's an undertaking altogether. I reached out to almost every major community that I could see online that have active presence, and I reached out to their administrator. The furthest east I went was, I believe, Newfoundland and Nova Scotia. I didn't even know they existed, which is amazing. We have people very far from like the West Coast building Gunpla, and I was looking at their community, and I was like, okay, some might be Snapvilles. They're not Japan grade level competition, but look at how much fun they're having. And I'm looking at all these posts like, hey guys, I bought this the weekend and I snapped it, or like, hey, this is on sale at so and so and I got it, here's my stuff. And I'm like, that's a community right there. You don't have to always be in a competitive mode to do that. And that's why I want to introduce a competitive mode, which then brings me to like, I contacted the admin. It's like, hey, some of us on the committee here, they're composed of members of other communities. Were thinking of doing an online event. Would you guys be interested in, at least if not helping us with the committee, or like allow us to post on your page so that we could advertise for the event? It is open for all residents across Canada, and really all the reply back and has been tremendously accepted in their community. So they allow us to post, although they couldn't commit a lot of time or any time at all to help out. So the core team of, I believe, 6 groups altogether, 5-6 groups, had to continue on their own for that event. But it was like, we post and promote on all the sites. On top of that, obviously, there were the judges. The judges for this event was composed of really good Canadian builders as well. 2 of them were past GBWC winners, Simon Lam and Ryan Lau. Simon, I believe, was the first one that won for Canada in 2017, and Ryan won for 2018. And Nico, obviously, is the current champion for 2019, but he gets 2 years because he gets carried over till next. What a lucky guy. Look at that. Eh? So our administrative team has a 2-year champion, okay?
So you got to put that in the description of the group.
Absolutely. Yeah. How many GBWC winners do you have in your admin team? Okay, that's a weird flex. But the other, so we have 2 GBWC winners. We have a couple that are very active in the Gunpla community and IPMS community. Yeah, I mean, it went pretty well. We asked them, they were interested. The judging for this went was very intensive. They actually went, and because of the online submissions, you're gonna have to look at some of the images and very closely to make sure that, like, how's the build, how's the paint application, how are the decals, and the feedbacks that I got from them were like, holy cow, like they're very intense, and like they have the eye for things in catching details and little accents here and there and whatnot. So the course of it, I think, brought us just around when did we end this tournament? It was like around May, I believe. So it started off in March, April, May. So it was like 2 months of intense people building and trying to get their entry submitted. So our contest had an RSVP submission format. So in order for you to enter, you have to RSVP. And our target was like 50. Number one, this contest was rushed. There were very little time to advertise, let alone some of the information we are still kind of like putting together. That's why we kind of had to like feed them as we get them completed and just in time. So I believe 72, 74 entered in the RSVP, which was a lot more than I anticipated.
Yeah.
But we ended up, I believe, with 50 on the target completed kits. So for our contest or the event rather, there were 2 categories: large scale and small scale, which had placements of 3 for each. So first, second, third for each large scale and small scale. And on top of that, we had 5 themes that are a bonus round for it. So there was 11 finalists altogether, 6 main top 3s for the categories, and then the 5 extra theme awards were given out. And that brought us to the end of the event. And after looking back at the wall, the community post, there's a lot of like work in progress. There's a lot of like kits that were like, okay, what is this shaping out? And then a big surprise in the end. There was a lot of excitement going on. The community was engaged. What I like about this event, it's not just the competition part, really. It is more about a nationwide community coming together and meeting people from all over Canada in a way for the first time. I'm sure they've crossed paths. Like if you're in Gunpla network, for example, I'm sure someone from my community and community out west are seeing the exact same post you are. So we have that middle ground. But this one, like seeing it firsthand, seeing the engagement between communities and between members from different communities was very outstanding. And I think some of them also are not even community members of other communities. They're just like, enthusiasts or hobby, as just a hobby on their own, and they kind of stumbled onto it maybe from our advertising or not. So there is that portion of like non-community members in the event. So so that's the event's course from start to finish. What can I tell you about the background? Lots of decision making. I think running a contest from the back of the scene would be getting the information right, getting the information on time. Communication is definitely key, and that's something that we are constantly going to be improving upon. Engaging not only the committee but also engaging the sponsors, engaging the community itself. So for the last contest, event 1, Plamod, which is the Canadian distributor for Gunpla in Canada, did sponsor the event, and that was very, very grateful for them to be participating in the event in that way, just because like I believe showed that like the Canadian community as a whole have the passion and tenacity to complete projects in such a short given time with the quality that we saw from the winners. So to me, that was a really fun event, fun experience. And if you ask me, would I do it all over again? Hell yeah, I'll do it all over again for sure.
That leads to the question, will there be a second Great Canadian Build-Off?
There is part 2 in the works right now. We have more people in the community, different communities join the core community for the event, and we are in the midst of planning. We hope to get it sooner, but from the looks of it, there were some more stuff that we need to iron out, just because it's lessons learned from the previous one. we'd rather have a nice start rather than kind of patching things as we go along. So a little bit of extra time to plan for it. But part two is coming. Part two, hopefully within the next, I don't know, as soon as a week, maybe sooner. That's what we're aiming for. Again, no promises, but we want to get this off the ground. So some stuff that we are improving on is definitely communication, engaging our sponsors earlier, engaging the community as a development process. So we have been putting polls on the community wall. So things like, what do you want to see happen in the event? So I believe 2 polls have already been posted on that, just to help get feedback from what type of contest we're going to be running. So slightly different. The way it's shaping out right now is we're going to have regionals. So before, all the 50 participants were under one umbrella. So it's under the whole Canada as a whole national finals. For this event, part 2, the current proposed structure will be a regional event. Based on the statistics that we grabbed from the first event and how many people entered from which regions. So the majority of the contest entrants came from Ontario and Vancouver. So those two on the west side will be, so the 4 regions will be the West Coast, Central Prairie, Ontario, and then the East Coast. By East, we are starting it from Quebec and moving on to Newfoundland, New Brunswick, and so forth. And the West will be in Vancouver, I believe, and then the Central of Canada will be its own. So right now, we will have those regional finalists then enter a national after that. Similar structure to almost like a GBWC style, right?
Like
So that's
scale.
what happened for GBWC. Exactly. So that is how we've been structuring, and the people voted on that, which is kind of cool. I was actually surprised. I thought they just wanted like one national one, and then when the polls came in, and it was like a landslide victory to like they want regionals, and I'm like,
wow,
cool. I was surprised. I'm not saying I'm disappointed. I was honestly surprised that that's the structure they want to do, and that's what we're going to make it work. We want the people to have what they want in a way. So the poll helped, and that's how we're structuring our part 2. So more info on that to come, and hopefully soon.
That's way sooner than I thought. We hadn't talked about this at all up to this point, people, and it's just like,
I know, right?
I was thinking like, 2021, yeah, not like next week. Oh, okay. That's really cool that it's broken into different regions. Is there, I mean, this is, making the sausage type things. If you don't want to answer yet, you don't have to, but have you guys talked about how much time you're going to allow for entries for at least the regional?
Yes. So right now, it's been talked about. Nothing has been decided. But if the course of our planning goes, it'll be towards the latter or end of September. So if we are starting mid-June, end of June, you have July, August, and September. So it's 3 full months. A little bit more info on what type of event it is. So event 1, and I do apologize, we're going to have to circle back on event 1, is that it's an out-of-box it's an out-of-box event. So that means everything that is in the box is the only thing you could use for event 1. People got really creative in how they executed the paint, the build, and just making sure it's a nice, I wouldn't say clean build, but like it's a creative build just by using the contents that came in the box. And that was a challenge. For the second part, we are talking about doing a different type of category system. And you're hearing this first, folks, so hopefully it sticks to what we were planning. But instead of having large scale and small scale, we will be having a out-of-box and a fully customized, fully modified category. The scales won't matter for this point. You could enter a small scale, large scale, just because the customization, you could use parts from high grades or master grades or different scales. And again, more information about that and what type of restrictions we will put, obviously, like, maybe avoiding, bootlegs and non-licensed products. So again, that's something that is still being talked about. And we're also going to implement bonus themes as well on top of those 2 categories. So for the people that missed the out-of-box event on the first event, you have a shot again at it. And I think some people, just because of priorities, and there's a lot of stuff going on during lockdown. People lost their jobs. They have to take care of their family. They got to take care of themselves. So we understand that was definitely a factor for a lot of people not being able to participate or complete. And we want to just give them that opportunity to like, hey, if you've already started a project, go for it. If you were thinking of starting a project from your first event, you could finish it for this event as well. So part two is hopefully an improvement on the first event. And that's what we're about. I mean, like the first event, like I said, there's so many, spinning wheels and gears going on that like we are just glad that it worked the way it did. That is like the best outcome we could have anticipated for. So again, thank you very much for all the support that you guys did, and to the committee for the hard work, to the judges for their volunteer times to make sure that like everybody gets a fair shot, fair review of their work.
It was really like just watching the slideshow here and just doing the research beforehand and just talking about it. It is really interesting to see kind of behind the curtain and like see how quickly things came together and how they've even evolved since then to the next step, part two, as it were. And I really like the concept, the just straight out of box. Like, I love the customs and stuff we get to see with GBWC, but that's always what it is. It's these really elaborate customs, and it definitely makes sense. Like, don't be wrong, they're super talented people, but it is nice and refreshing just to see what people can do with what's in the box and just go. Nothing else, just that. Yeah. So I like that you're doing both. I think that's going to be a really cool thing for a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely, and that's what we're hoping to, get the diversity going. I mean, some people's level of, skill sets. This is a chance for you guys to either experiment or continue on and build upon what you are, already learning. So it's just a different level of like comfortability of what you can do with your kits.
Yeah, and I think that definitely opens it up to a lot of people, especially like first time contest entry people, of being like, oh, okay, well, I don't have to go crazy. I could just paint this a little different, or maybe do this or do this a different way. And you do get to see a lot of creativity for something that's like already just set in its way. And there's a little cool stuff. It is definitely a lot of talent coming out in this contest.
Yeah, and they came from, and that's what I'm even more impressed about, like the amount of creativity and talent that came out that I didn't even know about. And I'm glad to have met a lot of these people just by entering. I've had daily conversations with a good chunk of the people that are posting on the walls, getting feedbacks, or just chatting sometimes. Like, and I'll get messages now randomly from people that I've not talked to before, but now am, just because like we have the same, they want to bounce some ideas. They're like, hey, what are you thinking of this? So it was a community on its own by members from different community, which was really cool.
Yeah, it's almost like a online grassroots convention in and of itself that kind of took the place of Anime North in a way of like, hey, we're all on the line, we'll do it anyway, and you get a lot of that genuine camaraderie to come out of that.
Yeah, and it's definitely, again, a fun event, and if we can do it all over again, man, I would so love to. So
I do look forward to seeing what people can come up with for part two. It's going to be pretty cool. Now, speaking about community, in a more personal sense, I suppose, you have started streaming here and there, and we've been talking kind of about that and everything. Give the people a little bit of an idea of what you're wanting to do with that platform, the community you're building around it, and the interactions you hope to build with that.
Yep. So as you guys know, I think starting this Monday, June 15th, will be my official start of the stream. So the streams that I have been doing are kind of like in the test pages, because it's always important to test your work first before you actually launch. Lots of learning curve, and this is my first time actually streaming for this genre of hobby, or streaming in general, to be honest. So for my show, you could find me at AO Mecha in Facebook and Instagram. Those are the current platforms that I have, and eventually I will probably port them all to YouTube or Twitch at a later time. I just find that the Facebook community, I do already have a lot of friends, and I want to obviously share my stream with people that I've already known, and hope to build a community that is supportive of the genre and with the support of the community, vice versa. My stream right now, what I'm looking at is a couple of things. One is live building, and the way I formatted the show is if you're, watching a Twitch streamer play a video game, but not necessarily play the video game. So the format on that would be myself interacting with people as I build, talking about, what's up today? Did I see something cool today? Or like, what's the latest news? What's the latest releases from Bandai? So a lot of it is myself building and talking with some folks. The comments section is live, so I want that to be as interactive, not just between me and the people on the chat, but also between, obviously people in the chat. They could, hang out as well. The other portion of the stream that I will be doing as well is doing features similar to what you're doing, Cody. So hope to have Cody as well on one of my features, kind of just between the two ferns, talking, see what's up, what are they about, what are they like, fellow hobbyists like myself, and featuring what their passion is for. And one thing that I was kind of like, tinkering about is probably like maybe recaps and of the news, kind of like more of like a review of recaps of the news that we've been getting for the mecha and Gunpla genres. So yeah, those are the shows that I've been formulating, and hope to catch you guys there from time to time. Be streaming Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday for the next while, and it'll be in the Facebook Live platform.
We definitely look forward to that. And when we were talking about this beforehand and kind of going into the more fine details, I suppose, it definitely is something I miss podcasting and being on other people's shows. It's fun to talk to people, but especially when you don't have to do like any of the work, it's great because you're just like, I'm here, I said things, I'm gone, and that's it. And it is really nice.
Pretty
but
much.
I definitely miss like podcasting and getting to like be in that part of the community. It's so much fun, and like not only do you get the community in what you're doing just while the video and the stream are going, but the comments and everything else of people getting to bounce ideas off of those ideas. It's a really, really fun thing. And I definitely, anyone who's ever thought about it, definitely go for it. It's just so much fun to just sit there and bullshit with people for like hours.
I know, right? And actually, the crazy part is like we've been talking for almost an hour before the show.
Oh,
and it just flew by so fast. And even now, I feel like we just started, to be honest. Like I'm not even looking at the time right now. I don't know how long the duration is, but the conversation we've been having is very cool. Like we have the same, passion for the hobby. We have the same ideas for, or more or less for the how the community is, where things can go and whatnot. So definitely, and podcast again, like. This is a form of podcast, really. If we are,
if you want to think about it,
concept, but yeah. And I've been only to one or two other podcasts from my past life. I used to be big into comics, so that there was like a podcast for comic books a while back that I was part of. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. I mean, the cool thing about podcasts is like, it's just people talking about stuff. And hopefully people can relate, and it's informative. It's, what I like about podcasts, especially if you have two people with opposing views on things and you give them a topic. So kind of like a debate in a way.
Yeah.
I find that really cool. And just kind of like, again, feedback and recaps of already said news or current events. Those are the kind of stuff that I do enjoy, and hopefully to incorporate as well in the show. Because like a lot of stuff is coming out of like I said, like our monthly almost announcements from Bandai. Lots of controversial stuff that they've been releasing. Lots of stuff that people are questioning. Is this the right kit to be released at this time? What is the next kit? What is MG Extreme? I'd love to converse with people that have some opinions and thoughts of the matter, and maybe get like different types of ideas and feedbacks as well for the future of the hobby.
Yeah, I mean, it is for such the strange time that it is for now of living in COVID-19 and this really, I don't think closed off, but things being a lot more online, more so than they used to be, I suppose, is really interesting, especially in terms of that, where you're not seeing these announcements come out of hobby shows or conventions where people are physically there to take pictures. Now it's on Bandai to be like, we have pictures. Get excited, I guess. I don't know. It is just a
Right.
crazy
Oh yeah. You know
time.
what? It's funny you mentioned that because like I remember waiting for like said expo to happen to see the prototypes. Even
Oh
I
yeah.
remember a couple of years ago when they released a couple of prototypes for the MG Buster Gundam and the Dual Gundam, and we didn't hear from that for like another 8 years after or
Yeah.
so. Maybe 5 years. I forgot when it was. The other one was the Age FX Master Grade, and what was the other one that was on that? Because the expo will have the prototypes, which is
Hmm.
cool, and now they're only announcing the releases of they've already a manufactured kit. So
Yeah.
very very interesting times for sure, because like we're not getting that expo reaction. You don't see videos right now going like, hey guys, I'm at the said convention, look here. This is what the new master grade is going to be. So uh, yeah, stuff like that. Very big shift, I think, in online presence
Hmm.
in regards to online content distribution from Bandai and from any companies really. You could even look at Figma and Kotobukiya, same thing,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, and it is really an interesting kind of side note to like just look into how this has impacted like Bandai and Kotobukiya, how they handle
Mhm.
releasing information and like, okay, we have to announce, we're gonna announce a bunch of stuff for like 2 days, and then just everything,
Yeah,
just throw it out just between these hours, bam, 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 and it makes our jobs a lot more interesting. But it is something that you do miss those prototypes, but at the same time, it's kind of nice not to get your hopes up and be like, oh, cool, we're gonna get
yeah,
an Age FX thing. Yes, Age isn't dead, and then Age is super dead, and you're like, oh,
yeah.
I'm sad again.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Yeah, like don't get my
Yeah,
hopes up.
absolutely. And I think this is the first time. Just going back to the announcement for the Verka, was the first time I actually anticipated something to be announced. Because
Hmm.
like sometimes I'll see it on my feed. I'm like, oh, okay, it got released, and then that's it. But because now I have a little bit more time to like browse around the online and get actually look at some feeds that are coming on my walls. When the announcement came, it's like this Friday we will announce the first or the next MG Verka, and I'm like, huh, okay, that's topic and content. So I took, a photo of like said, logo for like wait till Friday, and I posted on my AO Mecca Facebook, and there was a lot of conversations about that. I was like, holy crap, this is traffic. I would not have thought about it. Again, I'm still kind of new in developing content and engagement, but that was definitely was one of the bigger conversations that I've had in my page. Just for the anticipation, and people are guessing what is it. Some people guess. You know what's funny? A lot of people on my wall, and I'm not sure if this is what happened at Gunpla Network, because there were so many conversations that happened about it. A lot of people on my wall wanted the 0083 series to come out in Verka. So you're looking at GP01, GP02, 03 releases. And I'm like, you know what? I could see that happening. Like, when was the last time we heard anything from that? And the series I think, was pretty cool too. So,
Yeah,
but there's also so many other series that could have had a Verka treatment, and then we get the wing. You might
yeah.
have heard the sound of disappointment in my my
The
tone of
subtle
delivery.
sound of oh,
Very subtle, very subtle. And I'm thinking, like, you know what? I just hope that the design is really well, and I hope that it's a really cool kit. Like, I'm pretty sure that when they release it, it's going to sell out anyways. It is a really staple Gundam
mhm.
in the fandom, so I could see that being a successful kit. Actually, in one of my backgrounds here, I actually have the Hirem wing kit, the Endless Waltz edition, or Endless Waltz? No, what's one with the feather wings?
Yeah, it's the
Hirem
endless waltz one.
Endless Waltz,
Yeah,
right? And then I'm looking at the release, and I'm like, wait, so they're just making an MG version of my Hirem? Oh man.
yeah,
So that was some of my initial feels for that one, but again, we'll have to see a little bit more of the photos and the design breakdown for me to make a full, I guess I wouldn't say judgment, like opinion, if I'm going to pick it up or not. Most likely I will pick it up, just because I do enjoy the wing. I enjoy any kits. I really don't have any bias against, like, oh, I'm not going to buy that because it's garbage, or I'm not going to buy that because it's overdone. I buy things just because I do want to build them and enjoy building them and maybe improving upon them. As a builder, there's always that challenge of what is in the box and how can I finish it. This is just for display, or is it a full-on project, right? So
Yeah, and that is something that you kind of get your hopes up when looking at these things of like, oh, is it going to be something we've not seen before? And there were some surprises to come out, like the Vidar getting a metal build, I think, and like the Mina Amatsu Hana getting a metal build. Like, who at metal builds like, this is a great idea? Like, it'll sell because it's a metal build, it's going to, but like,
build design, yeah.
Are they just picking like things out of a hat and be like, oh yeah, the Gundam Vidar exists. Like, we won't give that one a master grade, but metal build, here we come. Like, what?
I know, and it's just like, I don't know. I've stopped kind of guessing what's going on behind the scenes with these guys in regards to like how do they choose and how do they pick for their grade. The fact that they're still doing it, I think people are forgetting that. Like, hey, we're getting stuff. We're getting stuff released to continue our hobby, continue our community. It's up to us to either accept it or improve upon it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people could still hate it, sure. I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I'm just saying that like Bandai is still around to give us stuff to do. And when that ends, I think that will be the saddest day ever. So let's just, hopefully they will release some of the stuff that we actually requested for. One of my big requests, if I'm going to be honest with you, the G Self. You give me a G Self master grade, I'd be a happy camper. I really dig the design. I mean, the story was not for everyone, for lack of better description of it.
Yeah, put it
and
nicely.
It took me a while to actually even finish it. But the design, I thought of the G Self was very unique, and I could see that being a master grade. And I think that's one of the rare kits that doesn't have a master grade as a main lead. The only other kit that I could think of as a main lead that doesn't have a master grade or 1/100 treatment would have been the G Savior live action.
Yeah.
If anybody remembers that, probably like the best live action there is.
It's easy to be the best when you're the only one. But that's okay, because
winner's a winner.
People hate on it. It has its moments. Okay, people love to hate. Like, it's fun going back and trying to look at the history and reception of different series for an undisclosed project I might be working on. But just to you want to put your personal opinion in there so bad and be like, this is how it was received, and be like, wait, no, I have to actually check that. And then, of course, the perception of like, everyone hates Shin, Destiny's a garbage fire, even if I liked it. You go and you're like, oh, it's still super popular. Like, okay, yeah, no, this is, and that's how it goes.
Exactly.
I mean,
like,
even the bad Gundam is not.
And that's
bad.
fandom. Yeah, and that's the freedom of our hobby. You could like and dislike whatever you want, and no one should judge you for that.
Yeah.
Just don't piss off other people. Don't be an asshole. Don't be someone that shoves your opinion down people's throat. Like, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but you don't have to force it onto people. And that's where people should just be people instead of, being dicks about like, this is the baddest, worst idea ever. I'm like, yeah, I guess. I mean, could be worse though, right?
Yeah.
Get like a Gundam to transform to a hand, for example. Maybe. If you ever get that kid.
A name you can't pronounce anyway. It's who would want that? That sounds dumb.
What's it called again, Cody? I forgot what it was called. Can you say that again?
I'm gonna say it's the hand
Catch a what?
thing. Let's be fair. Like, all 3 people who've watched Victory Gundam are watching this and getting mad, but everyone else is like, hand thing. What the fuck are they talking about?
Yeah, that's how I would say it.
Yeah.
If you don't know what it is, high grade hand, check it out.
That's it. That's all you need to know. If someone just got confused and was like, we're going to make a hand mobile suit because that sounds like a good idea, and they did it. More power to them. I'm not going to say anything.
And that's the thing, too. People who are doing customs, man, do whatever you want. Go have at it, man. That's your creation. You want to do a straight build? Go have at it. Like, don't let other people determine your outcome. Only you can determine your outcome. So build whatever you want, like whatever you want. So
buy the hand thing.
Not to rant too much on that.
Make some hand things. I guarantee you right now, within like a month. What was that? P Bandai? I think it was P Bandai, wasn't it? Because why?
It is a P. Why wouldn't it be a P Bandai?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Sure,
like, they're gonna release that normally. That definitely, we're gonna see some Smash Brothers hands come out. I can almost see it. Like, it's happened already.
Magic hand glove kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, 2 things. One, if you're talking about the glove, if you remember, I don't know which country did it first, but when the May doll released, the May mobile doll kit, from the Re-Rise series, someone I believe in the Asia side, made and handcrafted a green dress for her that depicted that one episode where May was in a dress in the show. And you're like, well, yeah. And then you're talking about the glove. Yeah, somebody's gonna like sew up a glove, put that thing inside, and like, here you go, flying glove. And the only thing you'll see is just the white glove, but inside that there's the mobile suit. So
yeah, they're gonna cut like a little hole in the glove so you can see the face of the mobile suit, and that's it.
exactly.
If someone's already on it, someone's doing it already.
Oh, somebody. If the PS5 fan arts are already popping up, yeah, people are on it.
Oh yeah, no.
And another point to the P Bandai. Sorry, we're just talking about P Bandai. Not all P Bandai releases were bad or terrible.
Yeah.
Some of them were very left field, and I'm really surprised when I first saw the use for the P Bandai Plutone.
Mm-hmm.
How do you pronounce it? Plutone.
I think so.
It's from the 00 series on an MSV. Gets a high grade treatment, like out of nowhere. So you'll never know. And I think that's what I like about Bandai. They will keep you guess what's next. And I think that's part of the allure of why we're always, okay, what's next? Come on, show me, come on, man. Like the anticipation is there, the hype is there. And you know what? The choice kits that they've released will make some people's head tilt, but that is part of the engagement, you know? And smart job. I think it's a smart move for Bandai. Regardless of what the release it is. They're always like shuffling it. So kudos.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, they've got such a vast array of different designs to pick from that it'll be a long time before they start running out of ideas of like, we have to start re-releasing everything because that's all we can do. Like at this point,
oh my god, do you remember when the strikes, the Gundam Seed strike was reproduced so many times?
Oh yeah,
the Gundam Unicorn. Yeah, well, there's a lot of milking cow kits out there for sure. So.
The unicorn
right?
is like almost a decade old and still getting milked. Bandai's not going to drop it anytime soon. We'll see another movie come out to like continue narrative and like, there's a fourth unicorn Gundam. Like, really? Was there? I bet there was.
Yep, and that's the one that time traveled into the universe where they fought the aliens at below. Yeah, it makes so much sense. You know.
If we get just like,
are we tangenting too much?
No. If they turn A the rest of Gundam, I'm gonna be so confused. Like, you cannot just keep doing this. Stop it, please. Just like turn A is good. Just leave it alone.
They might even do a reboot, right? Because like I could see them like, okay, this series is definitely popular. Reboot's a thing. Boom, here you go. Reboot, redesign kits, and
I wonder how long it's going to be before we get a Unicorn remaster. Just, it's in HD, but here it is in Super HD. Like, what? Stop.
Yep.
Like,
and next year, 2.0 is coming out.
Yeah. And it's everything is upgraded except for the stupid elbow joints that are still like 90-degree elbows, and everyone's just gonna be like, "What are you doing?
Why?
Stop it!" Oh,
actually, the one upgrade, and not to tangent too much, that I was kind of on the fence. Am I disappointed? Do I like it? I believe it's the EXS. The MG EXS was not a full 2.0 upgrade. Rather, I think it was called the 1.5 because a lot of the inner frame, I think 85% of it was still the original frame, where it had the screws as part of its joint connection. And I don't know how many kits you've built, but like some of the older kits require screws and screwdrivers to put in to secure said pieces. And I was hoping that with all these new designs that they could like remanufacture the legs or even like some of the arms and whatnot to be a more upgraded kit. But to my surprise, no. And then we get a 2.0 whatever release of the next thing. And I'm like, well, why don't you just do it that way? Why don't you just give it to the EXS? Like, why stop halfway?
It'll be another 10 years before we get a full 2.0.
Yeah, like that. So
it is something that, like, even now, especially with the Plutone or however it's pronounced, it's at the point 00 is old enough that they could go back and remaster high grades and everyone would be like, yes, please do it. Like, the high grades aren't that bad, but if you're going to, why not? I mean, and maybe we'll get more side story stuff because there's a lot of like really weird, cool designs in the Double O side stories. It's like I can see how it got to the stuff we see in the series, but like it's just such like prototype looking, like there's no way this would work type things. But and like
experimental suits and experimental designs type of deal.
yeah, and like going back to your point, Bandai just they'll catch a wild hair and be like, "Hey, here's this really obscure suit from this side story of Double O," and be like, "Have fun," and just leave it at that. And it's like,
make it. here's the kit. Drop. Let the money roll in.
Just mic dropping kits left and right. Bandai.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, like I'm glad that companies like them still produce and continue for our hobby, and let's not lose fact that like, hey, we are still getting stuff. So, to me, any kit is a good kit, regardless if it's a terrible kit or an okay kit.
Yeah, I mean, as long as we're getting stuff, that's really all that matters. Like having things to do with the news and things to build and go back to build, and it really like it makes this hobby nearly never ending because there's always something. It's either a kit you haven't built for 10 years.
Don't get me started with the never-ending backlogs, right?
So, yeah, like I'm like pretty good about backlogs. Like usually I'll have one or two kits. I'm just like I'll build it eventually, and then I just never do. But like it's such a strange thing that you don't really see a ton of other hobbies do. Of like people will just buy kits and be like, I'll build it in like 2 years, and it's just sitting there.
Yeah.
And like I guess there's like other model kits probably have a similar thing, but it's just such a strange thing coming from like other hobbies like action figure collecting or model kit collecting or other model kits like airplane model kits or comic books. It's always like, cool, I have it, I can read it, I'm done. Not I'm gonna let it sit on a shelf for
it's a
5
collector's
years.
mentality.
Yeah,
right. We have people that like that want to collect and say, hey, this is like my treasure trove. Maybe some people do it. Some people do it for various reasons, to be honest, and you could only speculate. Some of the top ones would be like people flipping it. Some of the people are avid collectors of rare things. Some people just want to collect the box art or just something to. This is the rare one, and I think it's more for like a psychological thing. And I'm no psychologist. I don't claim to be a psychologist. It's just that I think it's also a type of release in regards to you've accomplished something. I got something that I like. Boom. And I feel better about it. And then when you look back, it's like, oh, what do I have to build? And you look at your collection. And I'm prone to that too. And I'm like, oh, I have a lot of kits. Yet also I find myself going like, man, but I don't want to build that. Right? So we have that whole cycle of like collecting and not building, which I'm trying to focus on. Actually, circling back to my show, one of the themes of the show is backlog building. That's going to be the title of the show, Backlog Building. I'm the backlog builder. All right. You're joining AO Mecha as the backlog builder. And that's something I want to promote. You guys have lots of kits in your storage. I have lots of kits in my storage. I want to show you guys that, hey, let's tackle it one at a time. If you're watching my show, build something with me. Tell me what you're building, that kind of stuff. So that is something I'm kind of being more advocate about so that we could promote creation rather than collection. But that's just, my angle on that matter.
Now, as far as talking about builds and releases and backlog building, what's the most recent thing you've built?
Most recent thing I built would have been this in progress count, because like I'm currently building this as part of the test show, which is the RG Build Strike. It is from the Build Fighter series, and I must admit that I am very impressed with the design of this kit for RG. And RG line is something that I'm kind of new to still. I've collected a lot of kits in my span of, but I've only built, I think, only a handful of RG, so I'm really having fun with that. And it's a good, I think, practice for me because like there's enough details for it, and it's not too cumbersome and too big when I'm doing the show. So that's one of my latest builds. The last thing I painted would have been the Phoenix Rising. That's being showcased on your screen right now, and that is part of the build off event part 1. Also segueing to that, we some of the committee members did enter the competition as well, because we are not going to be the judges for the competition. It was just more fun to be in the trenches with the participants. We did a poll recently for part 2, basically asking our committee members allowed to participate, and it was a landslide victory. It was like, yeah, we want you guys in there. There was like 6 out of 47 that said, yeah, go for it. So again, very interesting how people kind of like rally for things. But again, thank you for that, and hope to build more. But yeah, the last build I did was the Phoenix Rising, and the I guess current build is the build strike for RG.
How are you liking that RG so far? I've been like on the fence. Like I built the original L Strike, and it wasn't bad, but it's still early real grade, so it was kind of a hand grenade. Is it
so? A lot of people call it hand grenade. There are some parts here that are, I would consider a hand grenade. Maybe it's just this kit. I did enjoy building it overall as a progress. I enjoyed the design. It's a lot beefier than I thought it was going to be. I have more appreciation for like the design that was put onto it. Now the downsides are like there are some loose parts I find on, especially the connector between the connector peg of the leg to the foot. And that's apparent in some of my test videos. And I'm putting it together. It's like, okay, well, here's the leg. And oh, there it goes again. And then the next segment would be like, oh, I'm putting on the head, the shoulder armor, and there goes the feet again. So that one's been a problem for me. But otherwise, it's good. If you are getting to the RG lines, that is correct. A lot of people have mentioned that the earlier RG stuff are not as great. I mean, they're cool. They're just not as well designed as the newer ones. So what got me into RG, believe it or not, I did not build any RGs until I started building the Unicorn Gundam, which I got from Kijiji. And that's the whole story about that. Some guy decided to build a unicorn, but I got only to like the right foot and gave up. Put it to Kijiji for like something stupid, like $20-25 for an RG. And I'm like, and that's in Canadian dollars. So American, that would have been probably like, $2.
Yeah,
but
it'd been way cheaper. Yeah.
Right, so I picked it up. The guy was like, hey, I don't know how to build this, here you go. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I finished it, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Now what? So I ended up buying my second RG would have been the Banshee, just because I wanted to have the brothers. Again, going back to Unicorn, I was a sucker for the cow milking, and I wanted to drink the milk. So I got the Banshee. I got halfway, and then I got the new Gundam. And I'm like, all right, cool, let's build it. After building the new Gundam, and building the Unicorn as my first RG, I was so impressed by the RG line. Like, holy cow! I didn't think it was gonna be that much fun, but like, and I was not like a diehard new Gundam as much as other people are. I like the design. I think it's cool, but it's not something that I would go out of my way to go and grab and build and whatnot. But just timing, and I had time to build, and I think I did this during the initial stages of the lockdown. I was so impressed by it, and now I'm sitting with like, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 7 RGs in the backlog now. So they're gonna get built at some point, and they're all in the UC. I believe they're all in the UC minus the Build Strike and the Gold Frame Astray. Those are the only 2 I believe that are not. Oh, and the Quanta, which I'm trying to finish next. That are not in the UC line. I like the UC so far. My least favorite that I built after all of this was the Mark II, and Nico will always praise the Mark II. I think that the tubing for the leg pieces and it just didn't sell for me. So it all depends on, I think, the series, your comfortability, and your willingness to step out of your comfort zone. If you've never built an RG before, and are interested to try one out, go for it. There's nothing stopping you other than financial. Obviously, don't go bankrupt by buying an RG. It is a different experience than a high grade. That I could attest to. And if you want a nice bridge between, if you're not too familiar with master grades, this is a perfect starting point for it. If you're starting off with SD or high grade and not sure if you want to spend that much money on a master grade, that RG line is a perfect middle for where a good platform can be for you to step on in order to get into master grade.
Yeah, it really is a interesting line. I've tried, followed it somewhat here and there, and I started, I think the first one I had was the Ale Strike, then the Destiny, and both of
Mhm.
those, they were cool, but they had just so many parts that were really finicky and just didn't work very well. Hi, Kevin.
Yeah.
Um,
And for the RG line, I think the most hand grenade, and I think this is universal for everybody, would be the Zeta Gundam.
mhm.
So for those who are interested in a challenge, like you got to be like a high level, want to challenge yourself kind of mode, the Zeta Gundam would be your best bet for the RG line,
Yeah.
unless otherwise somebody else could trump that.
Yeah, I think consistently the Zeta is probably up there. There are a few people, like I think Mark had mentioned that his was fine; he didn't have any issues. But there's still a lot of people that are like, "Ew, it's a little rough." And
Yeah,
the real great line has come really far. I feel, yeah,
yeah,
I feel like once every couple of releases, I'll like, "Oh yeah, I'll pick that up." And like the Exia was a good building on that concept made it a lot more solid. Some ways maybe
mm,
too much, but then the red frame still had a couple of parts that were a little finicky, but it was really stable, really solid. Then the tall geese, it's just a chunk of plastic. It's great. It's super. It's thick without being thick,
I
but
heard good
it's
things
still
about
thick.
the. Yeah, I heard good things about the Tall Geese for sure.
Mm.
Any earlier kits, I think everything from like release 1 to what 15 or something like that had like some issues of sort. So
Yeah.
again, don't judge the book by its cover. If you
Oh
really
yeah.
want to experience the RG, go for it.
I mean, there's always that question of when you're talking to people who are new to the hobby or fairly young into the hobby of being like, oh, where should I go next? Where should I start? And I feel like the
Yeah.
general answer is SD or high grade, but last year I had a friend just jump into it out of the blue, and I
Mhm.
think it was probably another friend and me pressuring him into it, but he. I think he built one high grade and it was like, cool, this is fine. It's not detailed enough. Picked up real grade, built I think two, and then that was right when the Master Grade Dynamis had come out, and all he'd watched was Double O.
Right.
So hit the Master Grade Dynamis, got the LED kit, and it is really something that no matter how much you may be intimidated by it, you can probably still do it. It's not overly complex.
Mhm.
It just may take you more time.
Yep. Yeah, and the thing is, like, when people ask me for a recommendation of how do I get into the hobby or like what is the first kit for me, um, comfortability of creating and putting together parts. If they have background for Lego, that really helps because it's like following instructions, putting it together, color code, etc. It also comes down to, and a very big advocate about this is financial. You guys got to make sure that like what you're spending does not break your bank,
Mm-hmm.
and you won't regret your buy that way. So I usually ask them, like, what are you comfortable, what kind of figure of money are you comfortable losing? That's my first question.
Yeah.
Losing. The thing is like, and the reason why I say losing is like you're never going to see this money again. However, if you this money that you lost give you something twice as much fun and entertainment back, you will win. So that's what I'm saying. Like, how much are you comfortable to lose in order to get some entertainment and in order to get some education on how to build stuff? And usually, a lot of people is like, "Oh, money's not an option," and some people, very rare, they're like, "Oh, I don't want to spend more than $20, $30." Because
Yeah.
a lot of the times when they think of kits, if you look at some of the kits that are familiar, they relate it with toys, and toys can be expensive,
Yeah.
right? And or like they relate it to previous genre of hobby that they collect. Every genre has their own thing. So when I tell them, okay, well, high grade roughly is about 20, $25. Can you spare that? So I'll start off with that. But if it's for someone younger, any children, I'm talking about less than 13,
Yeah.
between, 7 too young, 10 and 13. I don't know, kids.
Somewhere in there.
It comes down to the parents, like, like how much how much money can your parents willing to share, like, spare you guys. Then that's when I'd be like, okay, well, just to get an experience, because like you're not going to get all the pro tools, you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to get all the equipment you'll probably need for. You'll probably get the basics for it. Some people might not even get it. I mean, they're probably just going to use nail clippers or like whatever they have at home, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I do tend to give them that route of like SD or first grades. And more recently, and I think it's a good balance, and you're not losing too much money, is the 30-minute missions. If you really want a good experience of like just a generic mobile suit, not tied to any series, because like say you've never seen a series before, then here you go. This is, if you build this, it's like building a Gundam. So if you like building that, you're gonna like building this, and then maybe you could follow the series that way. So I think it has to be tailored and catered to whoever is asking, rather than just a general blanket like by default you go here.
Yeah.
If I find that someone I know is creative, like that has done art or has done things that put together puzzles even, then I would be okay to recommend them to master grade or even perfect grade if they have the coin for it. It's very rare, bigger scale. And the thing is, it's just because like I think that they will appreciate more if they've seen the show, they have an attachment to it, and if money is not an issue so much in order to gain experience or education about the kids.
Yeah, and that's something that I've just kind of going through the community that I'd never really considered as a thing that would happen before. There's a lot of people, especially in the Gunpla groups more particularly, that are like, I'm just here for the kits. Like, I've never watched Gundam. I couldn't care less. But I like, they look cool.
That sounds like Nico right there.
What? How have you never...
Yeah, so... Like, how much knowledge do you have? Actually, this reminds me so much of my conversation with Nicholas, and I'm totally gonna like rim him for that, because like, it's like, oh, why did you like? What he was telling me like before, like he put the wrong decals because it's from a different universe, or like, oh, I think he painted like a strike with all gray because that's his color. Mm-hmm. I'm totally ragging on your gray stuff right now, Nico. And one guy messaged him. It's like, oh, it's the phase shift armor mode off. Cool. He goes to me. He's like, Ariel, what's a phase shift armor mode off? I'm like, oh, here we go. But yeah, I mean, some people just want to build for the sake of building and creativity output. And that is fine. That is totally fine. I don't think anybody should be castrated for not knowing much about Gunpla. I think having knowledge of it gives you an advantage.
Yeah.
But not having knowledge does not give you any disadvantage whatsoever. It's just like other people just know more. Right, so.
Yeah, it is really an interesting thing that, like, coming from the other side of that, of like Gundam, like watching Gundam getting you into the model kits, you just don't have the perception of the other way around working. And it's cool that you have such a variety of designs that there's something for everyone. There's SD for people who want something kind of cute and chibi for their desk, or for people who just want to go crazy, there's perfect grades, like you mentioned, and it's just there's an entry point for anyone, anywhere they want. Just depends on them.
Yeah, and it's comfortability, definitely, and it all comes to that. Like any type of genre, really. Like, what are you comfortable about, and what are you willing to devote to it, and then you could range from there. I think any avid builder or friend would give a sound advice. And instead of like, hey, you should buy the higher rim, dude, I think it's totally for you. For someone who hasn't built yet, that's just wrong, right? So,
yeah, that might be a little bit, but it is just such a cool thing that is someone who primarily focuses on high grades just for space, and they're easy just to kind of pick up on a whim. It is really an interesting thing to see so many people have so many different preferences and backgrounds, and just how massive this hobby has become, and like how many people it is just
absolutely
swept up into it.
And I think a lot of it also is like such social media and networking and our platforms for communication really help establish that, because then you are seeing works from Japan or Asia or Europe that it's not just on a magazine. So before, like when I was growing up, like the only time I would really see any cool stuff is like when I picked up that Hobby Japan magazine, right? It's like, oh, okay, cool. That's like reading stuff, and I have to wait another month to get new stuff. And now with Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you are connected with hobbyists, builders, painters across the world in seconds, in instantaneous connection, right? So I think that's just what helps solidify our hobby, just because we have more knowledge accessibility.
Yeah, it is just an insane thing. And I like that Bandai had the foresight, and I guess Bandai Sunrise in general, when they made Build Fighters, were like, oh, we're going to give some service to Italy. Like, no one's ever like done that in Gundam. And it's like, oh, cool, yeah, Riccardo Fellini is great. And like they have just these
Yeah,
different people from these hot spots of Gunpla that exist in different countries, and it is really cool just to
absolutely.
like pop up Instagram and see that like our own Instagram has posted somebody's build. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Like they did this differently, and this looks way better. This is like just something like, oh, cool. I'm gonna go back and do that to my kit because why not?
Yeah, absolutely. It's inspiring, right? So yeah, I mean, the ideas you could get, it's not just Instagram. You're looking at, if you've ever been to Pinterest or Twitter, they're
Yeah,
exploding with crazy ideas. Holy cow. It's like that it's just an instant access to information that really people can take advantage of to get themselves better and just to get like this different creative mindset by getting inspired by all these other images.
yeah. It is just a really neat thing that the hobby has done. I don't even think it was necessarily 100% intentional. It's just that kind of grew as the community grew with it.
Mhm.
And even things like
Absolutely.
seeing these higher end specialty things like the G Rework magazines and having their tutorials in them, and I think there's three or four other that exist out there, of being able to pick up
Yeah.
this nice, almost just like a art book that you could leave on a coffee table if you wanted to, and you read through it and be
Yeah.
like, oh, this is so cool, this looks great, and then actually get helpful tips of like, oh, I've never messed with plow plating or scribing. I have a good place to start now without having to just randomly be
Absolutely.
searching for it. Just happened to be there.
Yeah, so photo and publication, that's one thing. You also have YouTube tutorials. Man,
Mm-hmm.
if I had YouTube tutorials when I was growing up and getting into the hobby, man, I'd be solid. Learning how to paint properly, learning how to scribe, scratch build, posing. Oh my God, that's another thing that
Oh
people tend
yeah.
to overlook. And but again, with our hobby and community, we're becoming even more and more aware of accessible information and utilizing that because I'm seeing posts that like, hey, like some of them are reposts and it's gonna happen, but
Mm-hmm.
it's informative. And for side six, that's what we want to promote. Like, don't just show us your boxes, but like show us tutorials. So some of the stuff that we do post are like tutorial videos or like final product showcase, that kind of stuff to help inspire and trigger that creative part of the community, or even just like I wouldn't say sell it to them, but like this is what a gunpla can be, or this is what a mecha can be, right?
Yeah.
It gives inspiration for sure.
And it's one of those things that there's definitely new life to be breathed into different kits. I guess that's the proper way to say it. Through different things, like seeing an animation or seeing how somebody painted it or finished it or put decals on it or just gave it different
Mhm.
accessories just makes such a huge impact that you're like, I didn't really care for that design, but now I'm kind of interested. Like the Carl Gustav or Gustav Carl is one that for me, when it was announced, I was like, I couldn't care less, honestly. It's cool. I'm glad it's coming out. I'm never going to pick it up.
It's a big boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when it came out and everyone started posting pictures, I was like, damn it, I might have missed the boat on this one. I'm actually kind of starting to get into this for some reason. I don't even know why.
Yeah.
And it just
Yeah.
ends up being one of those things that you pass on a kid initially and like, oh, wait a second, I want that now. And just, that's
So
cool.
very recent story about that. The age line I think is coming back because there's several reprints that happen, and I think
Mm-hmm.
some of the stores already are carrying it. I missed out on a couple of things, or I must have destroyed it or got rid of it at some point in my life that I just felt like I didn't need it at the time.
Yeah.
Um, and I ended up picking up a couple of years ago. There was a conversion kit that was released as part of the magazine for Age One upgrade for the Razor.
Ah, yeah, I
And
remember.
for the longest time, I'm like, so I have it here, and I'm like, oh, I'll get an H1 later. But new releases keep coming out, so I'm like, oh, I'll get this one said the H1 to a point where I'm like, now that I want to circle back and do it, I'm like, where are the age kits? And I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
we're getting restock soon. And I'm like, 4 years later, I finally saw a restock because it was in one of my alerts, and I have it unsaved, and it went to my email saying, hey, this thing is back on. I'm like, who are you?
Age
But
one,
when I picked it
what?
up, H1 high grade normal, just so I could do a conversion kit on it. So that was one of the first things I picked up. A lot of the kits, I hope, do get reprinted, the ones that people missed out on, because I think some of the kits that were done in the past still hold value in regards to like fun and constructability to this day. Now that I'm seeing the age come back out, one of the contests for Side 6 events called Mecha Showdown, and one of the themes, Mecha Showdown, was also supposed to happen in April, but it didn't. That is being pushed out in October, if that's allowed. Is a Poke Mecha theme, where you would pretty much design a vice versa, either a Pokemon into a mecha or a mecha into a Pokemon. I'm not sure if you're so familiar with the Age, but one of the mecha that was released for, or one of the suits for Gundam Age was released, had a dragon feel to it. I think it's called the Dazzanine.
Yeah, the big like standing dragon one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That painted in Charizard color. It's been done before, but I want to do it. You know what I mean? So that was like, that intrigued me right off the bat, and I'm glad it came back out. So if there are some stuff that are re-released and you missed it, jump on it. You don't regret it again twice. That's something. my.
I'm in a similar boat with the Age kits, where those were pretty much the first full line of kits I got into. Like, I'd collected a bunch of action figures and stuff from Gundam, and I was like, the model kits are out of scale. I don't want to mess with it. And eventually I did. And how impressed I was at the time of like the G Bouncer and the GXs and the Age 1.
Yep.
And how it compared to like HGUC stuff at the time. I was like, huh, okay. And then I got so many in the line, and just through customs and stuff, like I don't think I have almost any of them on display now. Of just like I've customized them or just used them for parts, and I'm like, oh no, I want some of those again.
I have the Age 1 here. Give me 1 second. So this is actually, if my recent complete, this would be my recent complete kit. Let's see if I could put that in focus. Right here.
There you go.
So this is the Age 1 Razor.
Yeah, I remember Age like having those specialty kits, and just like there's so many Age designs that just didn't make it in the show, then just never got released. But like stuff like that is just it's so underutilized. And Age is, whether or not people liked it, there's a lot of designs that were different, and some of them were good, like homage, like the Age 1 and Age 2 and Age 3.
Yeah, one of the things why I like about Age, and this is totally superficial to me, is that there's an A as part of its branding, and my name has A. So that to me was a selling point already. So
it was an easy win for you. We're like, yeah, I'm into it.
Absolutely. Yep. A. Yep. There's my Gundam right there.
Yeah, that's like, it's been a bit since I've built a kit. Like I've been in kind of a drought of building. Like I've had a backlog of stuff. I'm like, I don't want to build it right now. And a certain store that exists in Canada that might or might not occasionally sponsor us was like, hey, we have a big restock. And I was like, cool. And a bunch of Age kits were like there. And I'm like, oh no, I don't need to do this right now. I don't. Oh no, what am I about to do? Oh no.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah, so I've just got a bunch of stuff sitting in my cart. Like, do I do it? I don't know if I'm going to do it. I swear if anyone out there watching this gets some of those Age kits before me, I will fight you. I am getting them.
And I think that is common for a lot of people. And you know what tells me that one? Number one, it shows your passion is still active for that. Yeah. Right? You still like what you like. And that, I think, is just affirmation. Just don't go bankrupt. We had this conversation earlier.
That's the thing. I'm like, I don't need to, but I probably could, and it'd be fine. But do I need to?
There you go.
I'm just like,
do you want to?
Yeah. It's like the stuff I've got over here. I've got the Origin Zakuto, Char Zakuto, and it's one of those things. I've seen so many of the Origin kits and like all this praise for them. I'm like, I need to build an Origin kit, at least one, just so I can say I did.
Yeah.
And it's just been sitting there for months. And I'm like, one day, but I don't know. And funny enough, I have a Bear Guy and an Age 1, but I don't remember what expo it is, but it's the metallic Age 1. And I'm like, oh, I
Oh
don't want to
wow.
build that,
Okay.
but I want to build it, but I don't want to build it because I feel like it's probably more valuable not built. So I'm just like on the fence of like, I don't want to touch it right
Get
now.
out of that mentality. Get out of that mentality. You
Oh,
might not want to touch it right now, but like release them from their cage, man. Release them from their
yeah,
box.
I'm
You
never
will
one to
have
do that.
more
It's just that,
satisfaction.
oh. So
You're gonna
if I
build
get
it
the
only
age
once, and
two,
only you will build it. Think about it that way, right?
that's true. It'll be even more valuable. I'll just,
Do you want somebody else to build your kit? Right? Come on.
I
You
mean,
bought it because you want it.
if
Build
they
it.
want the Zaku 2 at this point, they can have it. But the age, I'm like, it's just like, but if I get the GXs and the or the full Glanza and the age
It's a
2,
slippery slope, my friend.
it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I have to have a part of a shelf for age now. Oh, let's just go ahead and do it. So I'll have to. I haven't even planned where I'm gonna put that kind of stuff too. Like, I don't have the space, but I'll
You
figure it
don't
out.
plan for things. Let it happen. You'll make space. If you like something, you will make room
Yeah,
for it, man.
I'll
Trust me
take
on
down.
that.
I'll take down some stuff. What am I gonna take down?
And if you're willing to donate to someone my way, I am more than happy to pay for shipping.
There we go. Be like, hey, you can have these. This is fine. It's donation to the cause.
There we go.
Oh, talking about all of the different grades and stuff. Do you have a primary grade you focus on?
Oh, good question. Lately, it's been the high grade and RG line because they're very fast and like easy to build. My preference, I think, would still be leaning on master grades, just because the presence of them on a display is a lot more prominent.
Yeah.
But with the high grades, it's easier to build, and it's just kind of like a relaxation piece when I'm putting and snap fitting together, pretty fast and easy. Whereas a master grade, that's dedication. That's several hours of your time, and I'm not talking about just one sitting. You'll have to do this probably over a couple of days. You don't want to burn out building the exact same thing. So I used to have a big addiction to perfect grades. At one point, I think I had 3 Strike Gundams owned, and I think I had 2 of the double O riser kits in perfect grade in storage, just because like I bought them.
You're just like,
But ever since then, I kind of I did some alchemy on some of those. So I traded the perfect grade for some high grade and master grade, just because I wanted to actually build stuff, and it was just sitting in storage. So never let your stuff sit in storage for too long. If it's there for too long, you don't want to build it. Do something that you want to build. So
yeah.
that's how
Sell
I
it,
approached
trade
it,
do
and
something.
I have no regrets since. Yeah, absolutely.
This is a total side note. I was just looking on my shelf. This is something I've mentioned before in different things, and I will never stop mentioning it until it happens. But the EX line needs to come back. We need the white base. We need the Argama. We need the Nail Argama. I don't even think got a model kit. We need a new Archangel. Just like, for those being fairly static things, like they're definitely not going to be articulated like Gunpla. It would be really interesting to see what kind of engineering Bandai could do now for those kind of designs. And I don't know, just like, if people didn't know, I'm partial to spaceships and stuff, which is why ships and stuff exists, but you just don't see anything.
There are
It's
so
really
many
sad.
ships that came out. The new Londo Bell ship that is the Argama 3 looks really cool. The what's the age? The Minerva, is that what they're called? For the age mothership?
Diva.
The Diva, right?
Yeah.
And what's the other one ship that I like? The one that had that housed the Kshatriya.
Oh, the
Xeon one.
Grunchiers, the fake cargo ship. Yeah.
That one. See, those are cool ships. I would love to see an EX line for sure. There's also, I believe, the EX line did a couple of mobile suits, not mobile suits,
Like mobile armor type
like
things. Yeah.
mobile armor stuff, like the Hollendorf. Am I pronouncing that right? The tank one
thing,
from
yeah.
the. So that one was cool. I wish I had my hands on that, but the price on that one was just a little too high for my blood at that time. But now I could be like, yeah, I could probably do that now, and would love to get one. But like now the price is doubled, right? So it's like it's a double-edged sword.
You might hit up the side 7. Like they when they were talking about the stuff for the giveaway they're running for ships and stuff, they actually just like live close enough to the Gundam base that they just walked there or traveled there.
Grab it.
Know. But like
Yeah, no,
that was
I've
on the
spoken with
shelf, and I'm like,
Gus a few times. Yeah, Gus is a really great guy, and again,
okay,
Side
great.
7 is also one of the sponsors for Side 6. Huh?
It worked out.
Side 6, I know it worked out. Side 6 does have a membership program for subscribed supporters, like member supporters, that grants them access to discounts from our local sponsors. And that's something that we want to help with the community with, because like, you know, the sponsors is helping us, and in turn the members are helping the community. So any revenue that we do get from the membership, we put it back towards the community. And that's what's been, I think, giving Side 6 a good advantage and help in regards to running it in a professional level.
Mm-hmm. It definitely helps having the perks and having some relation with the local vendors. In Texas, they
Absolutely.
have a couple of different groups, and they had combined all the like metropolitan groups like Dallas, Austin, Houston into one state group, and all of the hobby towns across the state, or most all of them, I think, have like a discount for that, and they just generally assume every time I've gone in there, they just apply the discount because they assume I'm part of it, and I am, so it worked out. But
Yeah.
like they don't even ask
Yeah.
anymore. They're just like, okay, you're done, good, leave. It's
Okay,
like,
what is yeah, you're already, it's
Great.
already in your cart. Let's just give me your card, man. We're good to go here.
yeah, they're just like, please leave, sir. We have other things to do. It's like, okay, fine. But
Awesome.
it is definitely like just looking. There's just so many things that you just forget exist sometimes, and you look and you're like, I really appreciate that. I'm glad I built that, and maybe I will build that H1. We'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see. Maybe.
And that's another thing too with like backlogs is like I want to build kits. I focus mainly kits that I have not built before if I'm purchasing or building. I built a lot of kits, in a lot more than I could count. But there are some kits that I have not built, and that's something that I did focus on. And it's funny, sometimes I would walk to the store and I'm there with Nico, who is quite oblivious to some of the kits, let alone their series. And I'm like, Ariel, you should build this. Look at this kit. It's good. Yeah, I built that when it's first released, man. That was like 10 years ago. It's like, what? How about this one? Yep, built it. How about this one? Yep, built it. You've not built this one. I built both of those versions. But hey, you know, but just sure, I guess. And I'm not saying that like I spent a lot. A lot of them also were. I did have some store discounts because I did help out with some of the stores a long time ago, setting them up with some of the distributors that then, you know, they in turn would get their Gundams from. So that's, yeah, man, I've been in this scene in the backgrounds for like quite some time now.
It helps to have those connections.
Yeah, absolutely.
As far as future projects, just for you, as far as building, after you're finished with that real grade build strike, what's next? I believe you said the 00 Quant. Is that going to be your next build?
That one's almost going to be finished. Actually, the next few builds that I'm looking at are some of the newer kits. I think for the first episode of the official live stream happening this Monday, would be the RG Impulse Gundam. That one just got released. So I'm looking forward to building that one. Alternatively, some of the master grades lines that I've been hoarding, backlogs, I want to complete building the Gat Boys, which is the Gundam Seed.
Yeah.
I have all of them, and the only thing I built so far, I believe, is just the Blitz. So the next one with that one would be either the Buster or the Aegis. So for the master grade line, and project wise, I am probably going to start on something really out there for a different contest that's being held by how am I going to say this? An international contest for Mecha. And I started a customized version of the Chimera's from the Gundam 00, not Gundam IBO series at 1/100 scale. So that one is a concept I'm kind of messing around with as a long-term project. It's slated to be finished probably closer towards November. It's like I don't want to rush this one. This one is one of those passion projects. And it's the design right now is starting to look like a arachnid base. So a lot of the influence on this one was taken from if you're familiar with Starship Troopers, the arachnids with the yellow and black. So that's what's inspiring this build. So yeah, long-term project, that master grades and RG line is probably good the next couple of builds for me.
That'll be really interesting, especially with that building series kicking off. I think that'll be a good one to start with, that real grade Force Impulse. I think a lot of the people who haven't picked it up are still kind of curious about it, and it's something that's super
Right.
topical. So the people who have built it will have some input as well, I'm sure. So it is definitely
Yeah,
something
and it's
we look
also
forward to seeing.
yeah, and I also will be commenting as I build it, like kind of get my perspective on it. Hey, it's this like loose piece, or it's like, hey, look at the design and innovation here, and that's what I've been trying to incorporate with the live stream. So when I am building, part of my practice is to make sure that I'm describing what I am building, and
Mhm.
also giving feedbacks on where people might run into danger. For example, sometimes when you're like shaving off that little gate piece and you shave too much, or you're not even sure if that gate piece was supposed to be a gate piece and you shave it off and it's supposed to be one of the barrels for the Vulcan. So
Yeah.
there will be. I am looking forward to all the accidents that's going to happen in the show. I think that's gonna be the highlight of it. Just like, hey, don't do this because you're gonna break it this way.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be things like that. I mean, there always is, especially with new kits. That's just like,
Yeah.
that's a weird piece. I wonder if I should clip that. And it's like, oh wait, that was super important. Great.
Or the most famous one is like, you put the joints on the opposite side. So instead of bending like normally, it bends the other way, and you're like, oh,
Oh
time
yeah.
to like pry them all open again.
The feeling of just defeat that you have when that happens, just like, especially with complex
Yeah.
kits like real grades, just like, oh god, I'm gonna have to redo like 30 minutes of work to get this apart and back together in the right way. Why did I do this to myself? Like, I think I
You
remember.
must have seen my last episode, because that's exactly what I did. I was like, okay, guys, so I finished this piece. We are clipping it. Oh shit. Okay,
Yeah,
back to the drawing boards, guys.
that, my real grade Exia, I did for the longest. I didn't even realize it, but I did the part where the legs connect to the hips backwards, and I was just, for the longest, it's like, man, this doesn't move very well. I don't know why people like this. And then like I was just looking at it one day, I was like, oh great,
Oh, there
that's
we
why
go.
it
That
doesn't
that that
move.
one, that moment where your gear is turning. Yeah.
Yeah, just it dinged. I'm like, oh well, I've lived with it
Nice.
this
Yeah.
far. I think I'll be okay. And then I eventually just went back and fixed it. But yeah,
And,
no, that happens a lot.
and you know what's worse or best and worst part of that? Say you messed up with something, literally only you will know. No one's gonna go to your figure and be like, "Well, homeboy here put this thing wrong." No one ever will. And the thing is, like, a lot of people. That's for me too. Like, I know some of my Gundam kits have broken or missing parts. I've learned over the years to just, own it. Yeah, it's broken, but no one's gonna know. So don't
Yeah.
feel bad if you do build it incorrectly, lost parts or damaged parts. You're just gonna give yourself unnecessary stress. So
Oh yeah, no, that for whatever reason, it just seems like the real Great XE is the bane of my existence, because the stupid little clear plastic like things that went in the legs. I don't even know, like, filter, not filters, but just like barriers that went on the thighs and
yep,
those.
the condensers, aren't they? Like they're covered for the condensers. Yeah.
I think, I don't know. It's just like there's such a weird piece that's like, it just, a foil sticker would have been fine, or you could have just molded it in a plastic and it'd been okay. But they put these
Yeah.
just weird, like, flimsy plastic things you have to slide in there. And I remember I lost one of them on carpet, and it's like, I have to take the rest out. I can't not. This is gonna look stupid. And
You
sure enough,
cannot just leave it.
yeah, I
Yeah.
took it out and just
Oh,
left it that way and just never found it. So I was like, well,
so just make sure you pose it so that that thing, that whatever's missing, is facing away from the audience, and you're solid. Even
yeah,
you will
just,
forget over
I'll
time.
just turn the Exia facing the other way. No one will see it. Oh, that.
Dynamic posing, all right?
Yeah, it's just like, look at the GN drive. It looks so good. You can see the sword too. It's so shiny. It's, oh god, that, for one of like my favorite real grade builds, like, the thing just has so many things. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. I hated that part too. But no, it's really good. And there's a lot of finicky things about kits like that are like, oh yeah, no, this was a fun build, and then you're like, oh wait, I forgot I did that. And it's just one of those things. But that real grade more specifically happens. But It even happens on high grades sometimes for me. I'm like, well, at least this is easier.
It depends.
I can just take this
Yeah,
apart
for
real
me,
quick.
when sometimes I do find myself rebuilding the exact same kit because, like, say I built it like years ago and I managed to come across it again, I will build it a lot faster. But also for some reason, and and to me it's an advantage. I will remember what I broke on the first one and make sure to avoid it for the second run.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, that's another thing too. Like if you know you've already effed up on something, just do your best to improve on the next one if you ever get a chance to. So.
Yeah, that's something that, like, I've since used that Exia for a custom that never got finished. So I'm like, I need to get another one because, like, I feel bad because it's actually a really nice looking kit. I'm like, maybe one day, but I know next time I do it, those stupid little plastic pieces,
It'll be better.
I'm gonna just like death grip those until I put them in the legs, and I'm like, good, that's it. I don't need to mess with it anymore. It's
Okay.
fine. It's fixed.
So that happened to me recently as well, and I guess I'm gonna reveal to you guys something really, really terrible,
Uh-oh.
horrible, even unspeakable. Even I lost a piston piece in my RG new Gundam inside the left thigh. All right, only I know this. Now you know this, but man, it bugged me for hours, and I tore apart my whole living room just trying to find that piece. No dice. So I've learned over the years to accept it. Shit will happen. I'm okay with that. But the thing is, I will remember it. And I just try not to let that haunt me. Now, two things did come across my mind. The first thought is like, well, dude, you have all these pieces. Just scratch build one, which I still can. Do I have the time, energy, and effort I want to willing to invest in it? The other solution is donate that piece to someone or the kit to a project, buy another one, and you rebuild it, make sure that all the pieces are there. So those are the kind of thoughts that happen, when that occurs. But everyone deals with it differently. So you are not alone for losing piece or breaking piece. That's where I was getting.
Oh yeah, everyone has done it at some point and will continue to do it as things go. There's no level of building in which you're not going to lose a piece at some point and just never.
No one is safe.
Disappeared.
No one is safe. So just keep forward. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, just keep going. Build something else. We'll figure it out. It's fine. It'll work out.
Yeah.
And as we round out here, Ariel, absolutely plug everything you want to, from Side 6 to your own personal stuff. Let people know what you've got going on.
Great. No, again, thank you for having me, Cody. It's a real pleasure just conversing with you the last while here. We touched a lot of subjects and whatnot. So for, I guess, some of the promotional pieces, if you guys are Canadian citizens and is interested in checking out our nationwide event, please go to Facebook and look up the Great Canadian Build-Off Gunpla. That is where we will be posting all the information for the new and upcoming events, as well as all the previous events, galleries, photos, and conversations. Meet some of your fellow Canadians that are building, but you also have actually international members that have just come in to check it out. So it is welcome for everybody. For my group, Side 6, if you go to Facebook/groups/Side6 with the number 6, that is you'll find our Mecha Modeling Club. We are based in Toronto, or Southern Ontario rather, of Canada, but it is open internationally. We have members ranging from not just Canada, we have members from US and Asia as well, posting regularly in our community. As for my personal page, you could find me in Facebook and Instagram. For Facebook, look up AO Mecha. And for Instagram, again, same thing, AO_Mecha. And yeah, anything AO Mecha related, that would be probably me. So hope to hear from you guys in the future.
And we'll be sure to put all of those links in the description below to save everyone a little bit of time. You go ahead and check those out. And of course, keep up to date on the Great Canadian Build-Off Part 2 when it comes out. And of course, be sure to check out the other Gunpla Network content, as we've got a little bit of everything for everybody. And of course, if you want to pop by the website and read some things I've written, I won't be mad about it. Go ahead and do that too. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful day, and of course, keep on building.